Alrighty, good afternoon, everybody. 2 o'clock sharp, and I'm just hopping on here to go through kind of the topics we talked about today. Today's topic really was kind of inspired by a post I wrote a little earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday. I posted on my timeline here in the PDOCS group and in another group as well that I'm in, another group with other, business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. And it was really about cash is king, that phrase. And I kind of made some correlations toward the end of the post and really throughout the post of, how time can actually be more important than cash, and how batching and making your time most productive leads to more cash and more profits. And really the whole phrase cash is king, I kind of broke that down in the different ways, right? Cash versus credit, as opposed to chargebacks and feedbacks, why chargebacks or refunds, why people might want to use the phrase cash is king, and then they want to collect all kinds of different things. But what I had really made the initial correlation before dialing it in down to time was cash, is one thing, and sales and revenues, but how much of that is profit and back end, and what are margins? And a lot of people don't talk about that, right? They'll screenshot their merchant portal of 800,000 in revenue, or the screenshot of the 20K deal they closed, but you don't know if that's at a 4% margin. You don't know if they've been trying to close that deal, or that's the first one they've closed in 6 months and you see a 20K deal, right? Like, there's all kinds of things that are kind of behind the curtain, right? That everyone's like, hey, let me pull back the curtain and show you what's really happening. But most people aren't really pulling back the curtain and showing you what's happening. They're showing you what they want you to see. And that's the whole social media life in general, right? Everybody looks happy in their Facebook and their Instagram, and they're on the beach and they're on vacation and they're out in a fancy restaurant, but nobody's showing you when their house is a mess, or they're in in a quarrel with their spouse, bickering about something, right? Like, everybody highlights the good things. So I just kind of wanted to lay all that out there, but it led more into what's more important to me, and something I haven't taught in a while. And what you guys see on the screen is where I'm going to start in terms of resources, and what we're going to go through today. But really, what made a huge difference for me was time effectiveness, batching out, knowing when I'm most effective, knowing how to do things in those batched out hours where I'm not doing business or online marketing, any type of business tasks or responsibilities or duties. But my other time, how is that productive, and how does that also help me grow, make more revenue, show up better, and all those type of things? So that's kind of what I want to cover. For anybody that's watching now, please drop a comment, about anything I say, if you have any questions or you want to add anything. But if there's any of the resources I start to go through, I'm going to offer a couple, and I will highlight what to type if you want that particular one. Please do, but I'm happy to share. What you guys see on the screen here now is inside of one of my Kajabi course curriculum. This is, obviously, you can see at the top here, the PDOCS 7-Day Challenge. So if anybody's been through our 7-Day Challenge, this may be familiar, and you would probably gone through this. You should have. But this may just be a refresher, because a lot of our people that went through the challenge did it in 21, 22, 2, 3, 4 years ago. Do they still have these documents? Do they remember this exercise? Are they still using it? Highly doubtful on all of those, right? So might just be a refresher course. But in this particular page, when I scroll down and click on, so here, what we do in the day one task of our 7-day challenge, and this is, again, why this is foundation to almost anything we do. When we start working with clients and we want them to get results real quick, we have them reverse engineer their KPIs, right, their key performance indicators, and batch out their schedule, right? So that's the day one task. So when you get into day one task and somebody's to click on their prep work, it's going to bring up this document here, which I already had open. I didn't need to download again, but either way, it's going to bring up this document here, and I'm going to go through a couple of the great resources in here. But day one prep work. So the first thing we say to do is download your preparation worksheet. So let me show you what that looks like. And this is something we should do in all of our businesses, whether you're a solopreneur sending out 10 messages a day, whether you're a business, booking ads, or sending out, hundreds and hundreds of emails and messages a day on your CRM. Whatever that is, these numbers will all correlate back, and you need to really reverse engineer this. So if you want the link to the KPI, I don't want to call it a calculator, because you'll see it's more of a spreadsheet, but in essence, that's what it's doing, is calculating your metrics, right? Everyone thinks of a calculator and they think of, all the KPI calculators we've seen. So I don't want to conflict the two, but that's in essence what it is. So let's just say your monthly cash goal for this particular business owner is $100,000, right? And let's say your average order value, or your core flagship program in this case, is 2K. Well, it's pretty simple. How many sales do we need? Okay, we need 50 sales at 2,000 to 100. Simple math. Now, what is my close percentage? Okay, you're closing at 25%. That means I need to take 200 sales calls to now get the 50 closed deals that I need for that revenue, right? What is my set percentage? So how many of the people do I speak with, say, on a triage call? How many of those do I actually set, and how many are pre-qualified and willing to invest? Your triage call should really be defining if this person is a good fit, if they suffer from the problem you solve, and if you're the best one to offer the solution. After that, it's, are they financially pre-qualified, and if we show them a solution to solve that problem, are they willing to invest to move forward? We do that on a triage call. So how many of those turn into a actual sales call? Say that number is 25%. Again, that number in most offers should be much higher. This is really a worst case scenario number, where 20 to 25% is actually a pretty good number for close percentage, especially when somebody's selling their own offer and it's not, say, a professional sales team. Going into 100K a month, you probably have sales reps. You're probably not your only sales guy. So taking that into account, 20 to 25%, that's a decent number there. But again, we just tried to use whole numbers, and I like this worst case scenario because this is telling me now I need to book 800 triage calls per month, right? And if I am setting out of DMs, let's say I'm only setting 25% of my conversations, that means I need to know whatever I got to do through automations, through ads, through my account, through hiring DM setters. We need to have about 3,200 active conversations per month. Now, how many is that per day, right? Well, that's showing you that would be a little over 100 conversations per day. It'd be about, just a little over 100. My response rate is about 70%. So I would have to probably send out about a total of 4,500 messages. So now you're looking at about 150 per day over the course of 30 days to get to that number. So now you know all these KPIs. Oh, it's right down there. I was trying to do the math in my head when we already did it. So basically, I need to be sending out 152 new DMs per day. Am I doing that from my personal account by myself? Hell no. If I'm doing that, my goal is probably not 100,000 right now. Or maybe I have a higher than 2K product and all those metrics change. If he's charging 4K, now we only need 70 something touch points, and we only need 25 sales calls up here where it says 50, right? So everything would change depending on, your cash goals, but this is just telling you what you need to do. Somebody looking at $100,000 a month probably has some sales reps and SDRs and appointment setters. If I have 10 of them doing outreach, now each of them only needs to do 15 per day. That's really not that difficult, right? If I have 5 guys doing it, each of them only has to do 30 messages per day. Still totally doable, especially if that's somebody's primary role. Very, very doable. So it's not like this is super, super hard. It may look daunting when you're like 3,200, 45, again, it's probably not your situation, probably not your price point if those numbers are daunting. And if you are in that space, those numbers aren't daunting and they're totally achievable, right? So that's step one, right? Then the other thing we go through in the PDF as you come down more, and again, this is going to go over kind of what I just talked about, but it also gives the ability as you scroll down through that more, or hold on, did I go through the whole thing? So no, I didn't go through the other 2 tabs. So then you can also reassess your bottlenecks and needle movers. So out of these KPIs, which ones are you not doing right now, right? Like, where do I got to start? Am I doing the touch points? Am I doing this? Am I just missing the response rate? Or am I getting them here and I'm just not closing deals, or I'm not triaging or setting a right percentage? So you need to figure out, like, what are the needle movers and what is the bottleneck right now? And then what is the solution to that, right? So really quickly, I mean, anybody can do this, right? Do this on paper, black and white. And then obviously batching out your schedule, which this goes with the next thing I'm going to go through. But we give you in this particular spreadsheet the actual pre-made calculator and color coordinate it to what are going to be known as your power hours and when you're going to be most effective. So you have all the tools in here, but I think the KPI sheet, which is the first one that pops up here, the first tab on the bottom of my screen, is certainly going to be most relevant for everybody and helpful. Again, so back to the document. Once we've kind of done those, it gives you the ability to take the quiz, which you've all probably seen these quizzes. And just so you guys know, I just went through it again, because even for me, preaching, practicing what I preach and pretending, very similar to the students and clients. I haven't taken this in a couple years. Now I already knew the outcome. I knew I'm a bear personality when you do these chronotype tests, but I thought it was cool to go back through it. So I just took it. I'm not going to run you guys through it, but this is what happens when you get to the end, right? You take the quiz, your chronotype quiz, and then basically tells me my chronotype is a bear. Thanks for completing the test, yada, 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 check your email. So I went to my email and saw what they sent me already. Sorry, I have a few different tabs, email open. Let's just hope it's this one. It's probably not taking them. Oh, it's right there, chronotype. So this is the email they sent me right after, right? Congratulations, you just unlocked your thing. You're a bear. What is a chronotype? A little more about that. And then it tells you some more key features and things that are very relevant. So, 55% of the population, or most of us, are going to fall into this bear chronotype. But there is, what, four other ones for the other 45%? I want to say three other ones, four other ones. I'll probably see down below. But it also tells you some very interesting things about you that are 100% spot on. Your sleep patterns and your ideal sleep patterns and ideal sleep ideal. I keep saying this same thing over, but patterns and really when you're most effective with your sleep, right? Like this will tell you very closely, like this is pretty much spot on for me what you're seeing on the screen, and those common behaviors are right in line. So the test is super accurate about what it gives you out, what it spits out on the back end, gives you some more details, and to watch more about your prototype, you can go further. Now, there was a graph I went through that kind of showed, and maybe it was back on this page, that kind of showed a few of the trends. Right there it is. So different energy levels. So there is four different. So 55% fall into bear. I think the other 45%, or on average 15% each, I'm sure it's not that demographic, would be in those other categories of lion, wolf, and bear. But this really is going to show you when you're most productive, how you want to schedule your day, which leads into that time batched out, color batch coordinated time schedule that I talked about. So right here on the screen where it talks about scheduling for your power hours, and how you do that, and then how it's color coordinated for the blue blocks, the green blocks, what they're all for. So again, if you want the spreadsheet to batch your KPIs and batch out your calendar, just comment KPI sheet below in the comments, whether you're watching this live here on the replay on Facebook, or whether you are watching on YouTube. I will probably I'll just put this in the description. So if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be right in the description. But anybody watching live or that comments on the replay before I get the YouTube clip uploaded and wants to immediately just comment KPI calculator, as well as the other one. So you can comment chronotype, and I will be happy to send you the link to do your own chronotype test, receive that information, and help you batch that out. But all that is what's really leading into, my whole topic today. I just wanted to show you the foundational things that we go through internally in our, what we do ourselves internally, what the exercises we go through, what we batch out for our clients, so on and so forth. So before I go into the rest of this, day one of the challenge is, people get a full hour-long seminar that we gave to all the live students, and then they get the task. And that's what we kind of do each day. It's like, hey, this is what you need to learn. This is what you need to execute. And that's why the task video, and the one I was just on, was only 2 minutes, because the tasks and the implementation needs to be done. They're not always long, but it's understanding exactly how to do that properly, right? If you look through the whole challenge curriculum, which again, probably some of you watching have been through this. I want to say it's this tab before I get on to my calendar and talking about what's working for me lately. But this is how I start, and now I'm going to show you how it correlates to my calendar. So we just went through like day one, reverse engineering your KPIs. Then we make sure our audience, and maybe I should start to go through these on my weekly trainings in chronological order, so anybody watching can kind of pick up the system over the course and see all the resources. But this one is probably the most important, is really understanding unaware versus problem aware, and how to craft messaging to bring people out of that unaware pocket into problem aware, which will ultimately lead them to solution aware, to product aware, and then to specific offer aware, right? Identifying the PDOCS in the research, building out your eco framework and your knowledge gap audit, which we teach people to do in the challenge, sales training and special guest event we do on day 5, inbound mastery. Day 7 is a one-on-one coaching session for each person individually, and then we did a bonus day 8, because after the 7 days, and this is the one that I ran, that I just sent to a team member the other day and said was super relevant. So I'll talk about this probably another time, but really quickly, this was our knowledge gap in eco and unaware to problem aware. So these 3 things, after going through the 7 days, where people either needed more help on, or were like, those are the most impactful, can you run through them again, or can you break them down, right? Adam teaching it and then myself teaching it. A lot of times people pick it up either the way I said it, or seeing both, they're like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Now I know how to go execute. So within anything we do, we try to offer one more session after our first clients have gone through and we've got feedback, and hey, what would you have needed for more support or success? Cool, let's go throw that in as a bonus. Let's go film that live and throw it in for a bonus that anybody comes in the future is going to probably have a lot of these same questions, right? So that's a similar thing that I've talked about a lot in how we go about crafting products, right? It's just like asking the market what they want or where they struggled, and then you go build it. It's not rocket science. So again, happy to send over the KPI sheet. Happy to send over the chronotype test link so you guys can take that yourself. Just comment below, or in YouTube it'll be in the description. But as I talked about in the little prep video I might have published a little over an hour ago here in the group about batching out my own calendar. So this is what I'm talking about by once I did this. Like, I knew my power hours, and right now you'll see pretty much all the calls in red are my sales calls being booked from ads, are going to be between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. because those are my power hours, the way my schedule is booked out. And that's when I'm most effective. That's when I want to be sharp. That's when I want to be taking my sales calls, doing my revenue generating activities, right? And then I want to talk about that a little more too, because I've done trainings on that, and there's another thing, there's intricacies of that too. So revenue generating activities, there's direct revenue generating activities, and then there's indirect. Not that you need to be doing both, but you have to prioritize, right? I do my indirect revenue outside of my power hours, maybe before 10 a.m., after 3 p.m., what have you. And I'll talk about some of the differences because you guys know, or anybody that's been watching me for a while, or seen a lot of my trainings and what I do, I have quite a wide array of different tasks, responsibilities, duties, and a lot of that is going to be broken down when I go into direct and indirect a little further in terms of revenue generating. But direct are obviously sales calls. Somebody booked onto your calendar, they saw your ad and they want to hear about your product. That's a direct. You could literally collect revenue on that call. That's a direct revenue. These orange, which for me are also direct revenue. These are people who have already opened up their wallet and paid me. These are fulfillment calls. I treat those people better than I treat people who haven't created a relationship or ever paid us yet. Like, my clients are more important than my prospects. I'm never going to lie about that. Some people are like, well, we treat our prospects so much better. I'm like, that's BS. Why are you treating somebody that hasn't opened up their wallet or taken faith in you rather than somebody that's paid you their hard-earned money? Like, I want to give that person more of my attention and time. And if you see them booked out of my power hours, it's simply for convenience. I leave extra openings at the bottom of my calendar each day. Intentionally. So within my booking system, GHL, although it's showing openings on this calendar, they can't book outside of 10 and 3 for certain things because it doesn't allow it. I have these hours of availability before some of the other things I'm about to talk about with indirect, but also to schedule custom calls when people don't fit in my window. Of course, I'm going to still take calls outside of that or extend them on certain days. Like Tuesday, my calendar was filling up and people said, I want a little more availability. So I opened up an extra hour and I got a call booked in that slot, right? So on and so forth. But I know 10 to 3 is kind of really my PowerPoints, and that's when I'm giving access to any particular booking system. Again, it doesn't have to be through GHL. It could be through whatever you use to book. You can set restrictions within that own app or that own calendar or that own booking link as opposed to your availability that's not necessarily reflecting here, and you still have time open. Hopefully that makes sense and that's not too complicated. But yeah, and this stuff is all open for a lot of different things. But I generally, after 3 p.m., and it's usually 4 p.m., because usually even though I batch out 10 to 3, my 4 p.m. always has spillover from people I didn't get to, and I'm still very sharp, right? I'm pretty sharp whenever I'm showing up for clients, and I batch it out in certain ways for those reasons. But these after hours is when I'm doing a lot more of my research, my organic, my posting. When my day is this full, and you guys know organic is how I started and still one of my main area of expertise. I teach it, I do it. So when my calendar is this mobbed, me personally, back when I first started, my revenue generating activities in these 10 to 3 would have all been probably organic related. It would have been an hour of content creation and copywriting for my post for the day. It would have been another half hour of picking the groups and publishing the post. It would have been an hour later of batched out for 2-3 hours after I posted to go in and reply to the comments and see the engagement. There would be an hour blocked out for isolating my friend requests and sending them. An hour blocked out for sending out my cold DMs. So like, my 5 hours were different then. Now I'm still doing those things, but for me those are secondary now, and those are indirect revenue generating activities. They're not my primary, and they still play into what I do, and I enjoy it and I'm good at it, but I can't fit it into my power hours when it's booked out like this every day, right? So I'm doing a lot of that, like one of my colleagues and somebody, we're launching a new offer together very soon. We actually kind of already have it to market, but I'll be taking it more public very soon. We were talking this morning about some of the research I was doing at like 6:30 in the morning and sending him of ads and organic as well, and I was breaking down some stuff from the same person, right? The same person. I saw his paid stuff, and I saw the organic post. He did them. His paid is brand new because I know when the ads are hitting, and I know how new it is. And the organic, we obviously know when they're published, and this one was like 2 hours ago, right? So they're both fresh, but they're both totally different messaging. And I was just like pointing out, I'm like, see, this is what's going on. These guys are getting a lot of attention and a lot of sales because of their ads and their marketing and their copywriting or their messaging, but they're really not that good at what they do, and they're sending mixed messages, and they'll tell you this if you've already paid them, but they'll tell you this if you're still in their ecosystem and you haven't yet paid them. Like, mine's congruent, and that's another thing that people are looking for: transparency, authenticity. Congruency certainly plays into that, right? So that all those things tie into. So now I'm doing a lot of those things, my research, checking out what other people are doing. On top of all this, I couldn't tell you how many public posts and stories I publish. Most of them are outside of these hours. Two or three things about the live stream this week, at least. A post earlier in the week that turned into this one, the cash is king. I can think of a minimum of 5 posts I've done in other groups, a couple business related, a couple secondary. You guys know when I teach organic, we have niche specific groups, and then we have secondary groups, which are more characteristics, interests, or passion of your ideal client, but it's not in a direct group. So for instance, if you are fitness related, it's very hard to sell your fitness offer in someone else's fitness group. You can get great ideas in there. You can see what people are talking about for pain points. You can probably get some great conversations going, but it's very hard to sell or transition to your fitness stuff, especially when talking in somebody else's fitness group. Whereas if you found a secondary group where people you know are into fitness, and you're the only one in that type of group that makes a correlation to fitness, maybe that conversation turns right into talking about how you can help them. So that's the kind of the difference between like niche specific groups. A lot of times, especially if they're competition colleagues, there's no spamming, no offers, right, to be a productive group member. A lot of times those groups are just great for adding value, getting feedback, growing your network, doing research, see what's going on. I'm going into my alternate groups to get my topics of discussion for when I do these live streams. What are people talking about? What will help? What are some of the problems, right? So what are hot trending topics in terms of digital marketing, client acquisition, new agency models, all those type of things is how I get my stuff. And generally speaking, my research and my non-direct revenue generating activities and things like that, I'm doing between 5 and 8 p.m. at night. I'm not saying constantly from 5 to 8. I'm sitting there for 3 hours. I'm saying I'll pick an hour or two, an hour within there, and go and do some of that stuff. I'm doing it in the mornings when I wake up, just because I wake up because I was active the night before and doing research and dropping a post or commenting on someone else's post. That's another thing I'm doing. When I'm seeing these hot topics in groups and these engaging, conversations, subjects, problems, pains, whatever they are, I always think I can go in that comment section and drop some more value or something nobody's heard yet. That's also going to get engagement. When you can stand out just commenting on a post that's already getting engagement, that as a byproduct is going to get its own set of eyeballs and engagement. So I'm doing that, and then I'm waking up in the morning and seeing my notifications, right? And as I'm doing that, I'm scrolling through my feed and, competitors ad, competitors organic, let me break it down. And it's just, for me, it's like second nature, because I've been doing this system like I'm talking about on this call for 2, 3, 4 years. When I first met Adam in late 2020, he was the first one that sent me these ways to batch this out and this chronotype thing. And that's when I first started this and implemented it. And that's ironically when Jesse and I first grew from about 10 to 40K a month really quickly. Just 2 guys, no PDOCS, no VAs, no ads, no nothing. Just 2 guys, messenger account, Facebook accounts, organic, and some hustle. But once we batched out our time and understood the unaware to problem aware really well, everything changed. But again, so I do that, and I'm also using my afternoons and evenings, and you'll see these. So a PDOCS relaunches for a new product, and some things we're talking about in a potential partnership with some other people, or collaboration, actually with some names that you guys will know very, very well if this comes to fruition. Marcel is a rep that I've been training throughout the week, and this is his mock call. So I do mock calls when reps are coming to my team as if I'm the prospect. If he can't convert me to the next call or sell me, he's probably not ready yet, and we'll find out here. My Audience Lab internal sales team, right? I run Sales Lab. I also run my own sales teams, right? Audience Lab sales meeting every Tuesday and Thursday with my internal team to get a pulse on what's going on. Also, all these red calls are Audience Lab sales calls. So not only do I run teams, I get in and take calls. I see what's going on. I work the CRM and get in there with the guys and get my fingers dirty, so to speak. So every aspect of the business as a business owner that really highlights my skill set, my areas of expertise, or things I'm passionate or good at. We try to delegate everything to who's got the best skill set or, the best availability sometimes to along with skill set to fulfill this task for clients, for prospects, for whatever. And when I'm the best guy on the team, whether I delegate and replace myself, I still dive back into that stuff. So for me, it's anything organic outreach and Facebook organic, that type of stuff, as I've touched on. It's anything sales team, sales related, closing, building teams, processes, training reps, placing reps, hiring reps, call audits, ride-alongs. For instance, this guy Marcel was a ride-along today on a call I had here. The only reason, so I had another sales call where you'll now see him if I go over Wednesday at that same time frame because I set him for a second call, Jeff. So he was actually another call I already had today. Marcel was a ride-along on that where I let reps ride along and see how I do the calls. I built out a brand new SOP for our internal team. Built out a new onboarding SOP. So all this other team management, hiring, delegating, assessing, I'm doing that in all my after power hours, primarily speaking, after 4 p.m. for me. 3 to 4 is always kind of my buffer hour where I'll take work if it's going to be relevant and generate revenue, and it happens almost every day that something spills into those times and is worthwhile doing. But yeah, so and then the last aspect that I kind of want to tie in, and really quickly I'm just going to segue and just see if anyone's dropped any comments or has any questions here in the chat. I'm not sure if we even have many people on there. Can you please send me the links, KPI sheets? Gotcha, Zwaney. Cool stuff. Would love to try the 7-day challenge when it comes around. Mark, I can get you the information. We have it kind of constant evergreen, so that's the way we've built it out now. We don't just do the once a year launches with it. We just kind of have set it evergreen, and we've run so many of them that it's actually a really, really well-oiled machine now. Alex, this is awesome. Thanks, buddy. Hopefully that's helpful. Awesome. Good stuff, guys. So yeah, the last thing I want to talk about, and something I mentioned, like, when I wrote the post earlier this week, Cash is King, and then I wrote the post saying, piggybacking off that, when we go live, we're going to kind of cover productivity versus balancing your schedule. Productivity and balance. Yeah, batching and prioritizing, and then like setting boundaries for a higher performance thing. And that, for me, that's non-negotiables. Like my morning, my team will message me, or I'll have messages, or I'll have work. I'll be like, hey, man, I'm out doing my thing. Sorry, I can't help you now. Like, I'm doing my exercise. Like, this stuff is a priority. It's a non-negotiable. So I set it for a time when I'm not available, when I'm not at my best performing hours for clients. And what it's done for me is enhanced how I show up. When I get my workout, when I get my exercise, my fresh air, I feel better about myself. I feel, just physically zooms me up. I'm getting out there in fresh air. Any of us that work at our desk from home, at a cubicle, it's just good, right? On so many levels. You guys, I don't have to say it over and over. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But there's a big difference for me on days, could be raining, could be too hot, could be I slept in maybe here. But like days I don't do it, I notice I show up different now because I'm so consistent with prioritizing those things. My morning routine, whether that's reading, journaling, I mix it up. I do different things on different days. I actually automatically set read time. So this is actually journaling, extended workout, or it's writing time. I consider journaling and writing a little different. Journaling is just like ideas that I might later write about. Writing is like actual posts that I might share, or in-depth introspective writing that maybe I'm only going to share with some inner circle people. But all those things help me show up better and just help me probably show up like I am now. I'm just kind of like invigorated about what I do, and I don't think that comes off with all the people online, right? Some people are just mundane. They're reading a script. I do this every day. I make sales, right? Or they're trying to trick you with their attitude and their, verbiage and enunciation. So, genuineness, authenticity, how to stand out, all that stuff matters throughout every step of this. The organic stuff I'm talking about, the sales processes, the way we show up, doing the things that people aren't willing to do. That's another thing about this. People aren't willing to even take the time to batch this outright, which baffles me when it's just so productive and helpful. It's a simple thing. You spend a half hour, an hour once, you go through the exercise, you set it up. I did it 4 years ago. Of course, I make tweaks and there's adjustments, and those are some of the things I'm talking about. Back then, I didn't really prioritize my workout time, especially. That came in later. I wasn't doing that initially. That's something I prioritized, and then I did it for a while, got really good, and then I got lazy over last fall and winter when it got cold, and I didn't stay healthy, and I put on weight, and I made it a priority again. I actually made a post about it today. I haven't shared. Everybody sees me like walking and doing my stuff. Hopefully, that's great. I didn't share the results over the last 2 months, and now I just posted today. I'm down I think it was 21 pounds and 3.5 my body mass index. That's just from doing the things that people don't do each day. I don't care how hot or how cold out. It's non-negotiable. I get out. So it's about consistency and accountability. That's what we do within our business, and that's tying into everything I'm talking about. With batching out, prioritizing, right? What's more important to you? Like after 7 p.m., I can guarantee you, on a very rare night when I know it's just I have the ability and I can just work all night and there's nothing with my daughter, no family stuff, I've already eaten, I've got my exercise, cool. I might have a power night like I did this week on Tuesday. I went till 9 p.m. straight, but I electively did that, and we do that as business owners when we love what we do, and there's opportunity to grow and to delegate and put in a few more hours tonight. It might save me 10 hours next week, right? By some of the things I do. That's what I'm talking about balancing and really prioritizing and see what's gonna do more good than bad. But after 7 p.m., generally speaking, I shut it down. Like, you're not going to get me to reply unless it's an urgent team member thing or maybe a very high VIP client. But even them, like, they know my boundaries, and setting boundaries is healthy. It's part of that. When you're working with clients, expectations and boundaries are part of it. Boundaries with your time, your availability, your bandwidth, which ties right back into what we're looking at. Batching out your calendar and your schedule for effectiveness, efficiency, productivity comes with boundaries. Making decisions and holding yourself accountable. Right. One thing I always say, I think this is more applicable in life, but certainly it ties into business as well, is really just keep the promises you make to yourself. So if you promised yourself you're going to be better today, you were going to work out today, you were going to show up great for your clients today, you were going to close a sales call today, do whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, that stuff's not done. Your day's not over, and you just got to hold yourself accountable. Oh shoot, I didn't hit that goal. Let me go reach out to 5 more people. I got to work an extra hour. I didn't get that publishing. Let me go write it now. It's not like my day stops at 7 p.m. I just have everything batched out to where I know no matter what, I'll be done then, and I can check out. When I check out, that's what I do. I'm not. That's my time, and that's what helps me refresh and show up the next day very good. From 7 to midnight, nothing's happening, right? From midnight to 6:30 a.m. or whatever, 7 a.m., nothing's happening. That's just family time, my time, whatever, movie, relax, sporting event, watch my Celtics win the championship like the other night, whatever that is, that's my time, and that's just the way it is, right? So this stuff's super, super helpful again, guys. Hopefully you guys pick something up out of this. Let me check the comments one more time before I sign off and just see if there was any last minute newer ones or anything I missed the first time I checked. Comments. Nope, looks like the same few. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Zwaney and Mark, I will get that stuff over to you. Mark, I'll get you that 7-day challenge info if you would like. And Zwaney, I'll get you over the links to the KPI sheets 100%. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.